As of 2025, Mrs. Butterworth's syrup is still being sold with the familiar bottle shape, despite
Va-va-voom. Hello, welcome to Guide to the Unknown. I'm Kristen.
And I'm her little brother, William.
And today we are doing a classic state exploration, dividing along UFO and ghost lines.
Yes. Wow. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
You've got a UFO, right?
I do.
I've got ghosts.
Perfect. I love it. Wonderful. What could be better?
I know.
What could be finer?
It's like chocolate and peanut butter.
And Washington, you're focused, and I believe you're primarily in Seattle.
Yes.
Right? The
Yep.
land of coffee and
beans.
fish.
Yeah.
It's all about coffee and fish in that town.
Pungent.
What what are they trying to cover up, though? That's the real fear.
That's a great question.
Yes. What is your history with Seattle before we dive in?
I have been to Seattle once. I was there for like a very short amount of time. Ryan and I went to Portland and Seattle a few years ago, and I think we were in Portland for like 3 days and Seattle for like 1 day or something.
I don't remember this.
It was in like,
I thought you were going to say no history. I didn't know you'd been there.
it was in like 2017, I think.
Oh, okay.
It was, yeah. And I liked it. I remember I was like, we should have balanced this better. I wish that I was staying in Seattle for longer.
Right.
And it was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. I went to the Chihuly Museum.
What's that?
Gazoon tight, I know.
Why are you making jokes for me? What the hell? If you could handle that for the rest of the episode, actually.
You need a little help today.
I definitely do.
I'll bolster you.
I'll take the back seat if you want to do jokes on both our behalf. That's fine.
You got it, chum.
Thanks.
It's a cool like blown glass museum.
Oh, okay.
It's very neat.
Interesting.
And then shame on me. I brought home like souvenir magnets for us and for Mom, and then I had both her magnet and our magnet on the fridge for years. And I kept forgetting to give it to her.
Didn't give it to her.
Yeah.
I have on our fridge. I have like several cheap tchotchke Hollywood magnets.
Yes. Yeah.
I was like, I just bought a bunch.
Yeah.
And didn't give them out.
I have one of the Hollywood magnets though.
I gave some out, but I just have more. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've also been to Seattle, and I also blew it. Mm-hmm. I famously have told the story many times, so I'm going to skim over it.
Yeah.
But, listen, we're talking about Washington. It seems mildly appropriate.
Sure.
I flew out to be part of an American Hysteria live show, which was super fun. Shout out Chelsea Weber-Smith. Shout out American Hysteria.
I just saw that BJ Colangelo, who hosts, oh God, I'm blanking on the name. Oh God, I've been on it. Oh God, I'm embarrassed.
Look at you.
I think I'm turning red. What is it called?
Hold on, because I know it too. I'm letting you share carry
this
the
is
brunt
horrible.
of
Well,
the...
anyway, BJ just on Blue Sky posted that they went to an American Hysteria live show, and I was like, oh man, I wish that these shows were closer so that I could go.
This ends at prom.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was like, not another teen podcast? That's not what it's called. Yeah.
No, we know BJ Colangelo. Apologies for the flub and Harmony.
Yeah.
But so I flew out to be in the American Hysteria live show, and I was Hunt a Killer was just always weird. So like they were weird about money. So I was like, you know what? I'll go out and I'll fly right back. That way we don't have to worry about cash. And I ended up staying like a half hour outside Seattle at a truck stop motel.
Yeah.
Because I don't know anything. I don't know shit.
Yeah.
And so I only saw the Space Needle from an Uber. Mm-hmm. And then I basically flew in, did the show, and bounced. But slightly amusingly, Hunt a Killer had a WeWork office.
Right.
And I didn't know. I still don't think I understand how WeWork works. So I was like, well, this is the address. Spotify was on the ground floor.
Yeah.
And so I just went into the Spotify office because I thought WeWork was like, this is all communal space or something. So I was like, I'll navigate from here to wherever Hunt a Killer is.
Right.
And I walked in and basically all these heads turned and somebody walked up and they're like, excuse me, what are you doing here? I was like, oh, I'm looking for the Hunt a Killer offices. And they're like, you're not supposed to be in here.
Okay.
And so I had to get shuttled out. It was an embarrassing string of days aside from the live show, which was lovely.
What can you do?
Better. It could do better. And then not only that, I thought I had looked on a map because I was like, well, Twin Peaks was filmed out here. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember what aspect of Twin Peaks filming locations I looked at, but it was not in the area at all. It was far away. So I was like, this stuff's all further away. It wasn't until I was like at the airport to come home that I was like, so why doesn't that seem right? So I looked, I was like 20 minutes away from like the Double R Diner the whole time. I was like, God damn it. I like totally blew it, totally stupid. And I'll never go back.
Yeah.
I'm announcing that today. I will never go back to Seattle.
That's the end of that.
That's the end of that. I had my chance. I blew it.
Well, we virtually traveled to Seattle by doing this research. So that's something at least.
Yes. So I think we'd better take a gander, a look at our research.
Yeah.
After this commercial break.
All right, we'd better look.
We gotta look. Take a peek at least. Would it kill you?
Come on. So why don't I start us off with some ghost stuff?
Please.
Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay.
Love a ghost.
Me too. So first, I'm going to talk about Kells Irish Restaurant.
Oh, I might go back for that.
I know.
You know what? I'm going to break my rule.
Some taters?
I'll go back for some taters.
I'm sure they have more than that. I shouldn't say that. It's not kind. We are Irish ourselves. We know the pain of being made fun of and pelted with potatoes.
I know. I go outside. People say, hey, there goes Tater Boy.
Look at old Tater face when I walk out of the house. But we soldier on,
yes, we
don't we? So last week was a little heavy with the David of it all.
Yeah, it was.
I apologize to the people who reached out and said that they cried along with me. I'm very sorry.
Listen,
Ouch.
It's our art. If we can invoke an emotional reaction in our listening audience, what more could you ask for?
That's true. That is what we are here to do as artists. But luckily, this Kells Irish Restaurant is a pretty feel-good haunting. It's not so bad.
All right.
So I actually referenced this place in episode 108, Haunted Retail Stores, as part of a batch of stories about Pike Place hauntings.
Right.
But I didn't really go into it.
Pike Place is the fish.
Yeah.
The fishery.
Yeah. Right.
Where they wrap fish in newspapers.
And throw them at you.
Mm-hmm.
It's more than just that, but it is that.
You know who would love Pike Place?
Yeah, that guy from the Muppets.
New Zealand.
Yeah. Yeah, he'd be right at home there.
That's right.
So yeah, I mentioned it in there, but not about the two main ghosts that people seem to see, which is strange. I don't know, whatever. So I found an article from a local news site called the Como News about this place from 2024. So Kells Irish Restaurant is apparently a Seattle institution with friendly ghosts and I guess a lot of activity. And it's not a huge surprise given the location because it's the backside of the building is known as the Butterworth Building. The Butterworth Building.
The Butterworth, where Mrs. lived?
Yeah.
Mrs. Butterworth?
Yeah.
Or Mr. Butterworth?
No, it's Mrs.
Who was that? Was that syrup?
Yeah. She's a syrup lady.
Why was it Butterworth for syrup?
I don't know. Maybe it's real and maybe there was a lady named Mrs. Butterworth who invented the syrup.
Should have been Maple Bottom. Missed opportunity.
William, you're doing fine with the jokes all on your own.
Thank you.
Look at you, Mrs. Maple Bottom.
I still got it.
That makes it sound like she's shitting out syrup and then that's what you use.
Well, also describing it as Mrs. Maple Bottom is here just because you bought a bottle of syrup at the store is weird. Kids, Mrs. Maple Bottom is here. Ew, that's the bottle that opens from the bottom? No.
Oh, God.
The bottle that opens from the middle back.
Worrisome.
So stupid.
Oh, God. Anyway, there's a Butterworth building in Seattle, which was the former home to Butterworth and Sons, Seattle's first mortuary, which was built in 1903.
Oh, my God.
They can't help what their last name is. What?
They had their first mortuary in 1903?
I thought the same thing. All I can think is that it's like a more formalized, I don't know, fancy situation. Because I was like, this is the first place where they tend to the dead in 1903.
What were they doing with the bodies?
I know.
Because I have information about some bodies. I do have one more thing besides UFOs.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
And it's older than your story, and people die in it. So
I don't know.
Those bodies had to go somewhere before Butterworth realized that you could make a pretty penny.
Make a mint. I also just don't like I said, he can't help what his last name is, whatever. I don't like a mushy substance being associated with dead bodies. I don't like that it's the Butterworth mortuary. Melty.
I don't like it. You wouldn't believe what we use. Goodbye, formaldehyde.
It's butter.
It's butter.
Ugh. So it was a real one-stop shop. There was an office on one end and an ornate chapel on the other.
Okay.
So you could get it all done. Funeral processions often started from out front, and during the time that the mortuary was operational, the space that would one day become Kells, the restaurant, was used to house the horses and carriages used in funeral processions until they remodeled at one point and turned that space into the quote-unquote fitting room and had the embalming room one floor up. So, in the original 2008 article that I used as a source for episode 108 back in the day, because I went to look at it just to make sure I didn't like repeat anything here, the owners said that they wanted to open up a goth club up there in that embalming room called the Mortuary. And I don't think that's happened. I looked into it to see if that has since happened since 2008. It doesn't look like it.
Huh.
Also, I tried to find out what a fitting room is in terms of a mortuary, and I couldn't find it. I guess it's probably what it sounds like.
That's what I took it to mean. Yeah, putting the corpses in clothes.
But I don't know. I don't know, because you usually you provide the clothes for your loved one to be buried in. So what's to fit?
Well, they have to go on the body though. You have to.
I know, but
you've seen the 1990.
So that's like a dressing room.
True. You've seen
Which I guess is also called a fitting room.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. See? You've seen the 1990 Night of the Living Dead remake, right? With that corpse. There's a zombie walking in the cemetery, and he's wearing a suit. So they're like, Sir, you look normal and alive. Can you come near us and help us? But as he comes closer, his clothing starts to fall apart around him because it's cut. It's snipped up the back.
Yeah.
To fit the corpse in.
I'm still confused by it, though, because why would you need a different room separate from the embalming room for that? Like they're naked in the embalming room, and then it's like, okay, time to take them to the other room for us to now dress them. I don't know.
Maybe it takes a while. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just,
you got to slow down all the embalming processes just to. Is it like I'm thinking of although that now becomes like a factory process of you got to bring the body to the embalming room, then you bring it to the fitting room, and now it's starting to feel like I Love Lucy with those chocolates on the conveyor belt. You can't keep up.
Right? Or
I'm done. I embalmed another one, boss. Get the clothes on the corpses, you nincompoop.
But you got to bring them to a whole other room for that. It's also like the weird makeover space in The Wizard of Oz. Just do it in one room.
Yeah, true. Good point.
I don't know, but this is all, by the way, moot and made up. The fitting room could mean something entirely different. I have no idea what it means. Maybe it's making sure that they actually fit in the coffin, because you could be like,
yeah, right.
You could be like, oh yeah, I think my loved one is 5'6", and then get a 5'6" coffin or something, and they're like, oh crap, this person is actually 5'2".
Right, yeah, this coffin's too big. Wait, so we have a problem?
I don't know. I don't know anything.
Don't. Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
Bit of advice. Don't get this job.
Well, famously, Mom insists that I said that I wanted this job when I was a surly teenager. I have no memory of that. But maybe, sure. I don't know.
You did go to cosmetology school. You could do makeup for the dead.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what she says. She said that I wanted to do makeup for the dead when I was a teenager. And I just don't remember. I don't remember feeling that at all. But, who knows?
Who knows?
So, yeah, perhaps I was a hop skip at one point from doing that. I don't know.
Maybe.
All right. So back to Kells in, current day. So Patrick McAleese is the current and longtime owner of Kells and says that he hasn't seen ghosts like apparitions or anything, but that strange things have happened like doors opening on their own. But plenty of other people have seen ghosts, and it seems like there are two main characters who show up, Charlie and the little girl in the red dress. So there's a Seattle tour guide named Phoenix Smith who explained to this Como news outlet that Charlie is seen in a mirror mounted across from the bar, and that he's a happy, smiling, middle-aged gent in a derby hat who will raise a pint to you if you see him. They've changed mirrors a few times, and in the original episode about this, 108, I referenced the mirror falling a bunch, and I can only put two and two together and assume that's the same mirror. But any mirror that pops up there, Charlie will show up in it. So it's the space, not the mirror, that is haunted. Dozens upon dozens of people have claimed to see Charlie, even seeming to catch him in pictures a few times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Charlie. He likes to appear not in actual physical real life, but
just in the mirror.
Yeah.
Raising one to you.
Great party, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
So you can have a brew beyond death.
I guess so.
A ghostly brew.
I guess so.
What does that do?
I don't know.
Do you think he's in the mirror, or do you think, like, is he at the bar next to you, or is he in the mirror?
Good question. I wonder if he's at the bar next to you, but you can just see him in the mirror.
Yeah.
Maybe for some reason you can't see him otherwise.
That's the most plausible, because mirrors only reflect things, but it's kind of interesting to be like, well, there's a whole other world in the mirror, kind of.
But if they keep swapping out mirrors and he shows up no matter what. But
maybe
I
that's
guess
why they keep falling. He's heavy.
Maybe.
He's in the mirror.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows how heavy that derby hat is? But the star of the show at this place is the little girl in the red dress. She's said to be shy, sweet, and playful, and has been seen even more times than Charlie has. A former security guard for Kells named Josiah told the story of his encounter with her to the news outlet. Now I have some quotes because I like the way he tells the story. "Oh, shucks," he said. It was 2010 or 2011. "It was just another busy weekend over at Kells. I was at my post upstairs and it was getting time for us to rotate. I hear footsteps on the stairwell that's right by my right side. And I'm like, what the heck? And it's like little feet running up the stairs. Shucks and heck."
Shucks and heck. What the heck?
That's Josiah. "I turned the corner and I can only see the feet going up the stairs, little kids' feet, and it was definitely a girl. I could just see the bottom of her dress. It was red and she had white stockings on and like black shoes. So I get on the earpiece and I'm like, hey, somebody have kids here? There's a kid up in this back stairwell. Somebody got their kid here?" Brent, who must be another security guard, he goes, "There should be no kids here, period," Josiah recounted. "So I go up the stairway about 2 flights, and at the top, it's a doorway, just one doorway, nowhere else this girl could have run. It's pitch black in there, and I kind of just like froze. And then like I walk into a little cold space where it was like, holy cow, it's kind of freezing." So now we've got holy cow, shucks, and what was the other one? Was it a G's?
Yeah,
something else
like
cute.
that, yeah.
And the hairs on my neck started standing up. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is the ghost. And I turned and I ran down those stairs so fast. That's just stuff I don't play with. Josiah said he was so scared that he was pushing people aside and yelling on his way to the front door of the bar that opens into Post Alley. Now all these bouncers are coming. They're like, who's the little girl? I was like, okay, so here's what just happened. He told his tale, and one of the Michelese family said to him, "Oh my God, you just saw the ghost. I'm getting chicken skin just thinking about it," he said.
Wait, whoa.
Yep.
I'm getting chicken skin.
Yeah.
That's not the phrase.
I've heard chicken skin before.
Goosebumps?
Yes.
I can't decide what's weirder now.
They're both weird, but I'm just used to goosebumps.
I have the bumps of a goose.
Yeah. I'm more accustomed to goosebumps, so I don't care for chicken skin.
I'm getting chicken skin just thinking about it. Yeah. They talk like that in Washington, right?
I'm pretty sure. So it sounds like he ran out like Costanza, pushing everybody over at that birthday party when there was a fire.
That's it. 100% what I was talking about. Yeah.
Doing that,
Yes,
which is awesome.
That is awesome.
Because he saw a little girl ghost who frightened him.
And there's no story about who the little girl ghost is
No.
or anything. She's just in a red dress.
Yes.
Now,
we don't know.
That's interesting. Now I'm thinking again about the guy in the mirror who's drinking a beer and tipping his hat at you or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you think that kid ghosts, now maybe the girl in the red dress is too young for this, but imagine a ghost of an 11, 12, 13-year-old.
Yeah.
In the afterlife, you can have beer.
Oh, are they sneaking it?
No one can stop you.
That's true.
Like little kid ghosts, teenager ghosts should be like smoking cigarettes and like looking like have a cookie eating grin on their face.
And there are no repercussions for smoking in the afterlife. You're already dead.
Who's going to tell you no?
Yeah, smoke them up, Johnny.
You smoke them. Smoke them if you got them.
I guess you might as well.
Yeah.
Am I going to smoke in the afterlife? You know what? I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but because I was like, am I drink in the afterlife? Whatever.
Right.
Okay. So maybe I'll smoke in the afterlife.
Yeah.
Maybe.
If it's back to just like looking cool, but you don't have any physical, issues because of it, right? You can't get sick. You're already dead.
Yeah, right.
So now you just look like you're in a noir story.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Something to look forward to. Okay, so now I found a couple of comments on hauntedplaces.org.
Oh, great.
Of course. It has an 89% rating, which is good stuff. And somebody named Justin said, I lived in Seattle for years and have experienced a few things at this location. One of which I had full bars on my mobile phone while at the bar. No incoming calls or texts. The minute I walk outside, I had 4 missed calls and 10 texts blowing up my phone. Spirit energy? And then somebody replied, no, you're in a basement. Reception varies. Here's the spooky thing.
Oh, no.
The person who left the comment, Justin. The replier, Justin. Did he think better of the situation a year and a month later and reply back to himself? That's my question.
Yeah, that's the real question. Is it 2 Justins or just the one talking to himself?
That's the spookiest part of this story to me.
Wow, I just got to chill up my spine.
I know, me too. Okay, the next story I have for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, why don't I just?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Why don't I blaze them? Smoke them if you got them, right?
Well, actually, can I tell you something? Because I'm thinking about the mortuary that opened for the first time in 1903.
Yeah.
Because I glanced at my notes for one of my stories. So would you mind if I just sort of talked about it? It's not long, really.
Yeah.
So one of the first things that I think about when I think about Seattle is the Seattle Underground, which is literally a city beneath the city.
Right.
And I only really know about it from, I guess I must know about it from like movies and stuff. I think it was in Malignant.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
I've never seen Malignant.
You didn't see Malignant?
No.
Oh my God.
I listened to the How Did You Get Made about Malignant.
They did.
Yeah.
We just watched Jason Mantzoukas on Nailed It last night because I was feeling grumpy.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Oh, good.
It was like medicine to watch Jason Mantzoukas.
I can see that.
He's on Taskmaster this year.
It's not out yet, though, right?
No, not yet. Sometime in March, but I need that.
I can't wait for that.
Oh, my God. So anyway, in Malignant, I'm pretty sure the main character is a tour guide of the Seattle Underground. And it looks like something out of science fiction.
Yeah.
It is... So essentially, well, I'll tell the story this way. In 1889, 14 years before Seattle gets its first mortuary, apparently.
Okay.
In 1889, there's the Great Seattle Fire.
Yeah.
Somebody's working with glue. Like hot glue or something.
It's like weird old-timey glue that's like highly flammable or
something like that. It was like they were like firing up some glue. I don't know. But so it tips over and starts a fire.
Yeah.
And the fire quickly gets out of control. Apparently the guy who started the fire it was a grease fire because of the glue, and he ends up throwing water all over it, which spreads the fire.
Yeah.
It's like terrible.
You need to powder it.
Yes, exactly.
Like a baby's bottom.
You got to just deprive it of air.
Yeah.
So this grease fire goes crazy, and essentially all of Seattle catches on fire, which is also enabled by the fact that the founders of Seattle. Now, if you think about like the industry of Seattle, right? Like again, Twin Peaks, right? It's in the area,
right?
It's
the
in
bean
the
and
state.
The fish.
The bean, the fish, and the tree.
Ah, yes.
The great trees. So you gave me such a smug look. Yes,
we know these things.
I remember seeing an image of a tree. So they had all of this wood. So everything in Seattle before this fire was constructed out of wood. All the houses, even the sewage pipes.
Okay.
Wood.
Okay.
Now, this next thing is... So anyway, that's all like, capable of catching on fire, if you know what
very porous.
Yeah.
The sewage pipes must have smelled to high hell.
This is sort of besides the point, but the original Seattle because what we know is Seattle now is like Seattle like 2.0 or 3.0 because of this event. They rebuilt it.
Yeah.
But at the founding of Seattle, I guess it was below sea level or whatever. I can't pretend that I understand how this stuff works. But if there was like a high tide or like a storm out in the ocean, toilets would just explode out.
Oh no. Oh no.
Just blast outward.
Oh no, that's not good.
Your wood toilet.
Oh God.
I don't know, just terrible.
Yeah.
It sounds horrible.
Yeah.
So listen, having the entire city catch on fire, also not good.
No.
Having said that, they end up in rebuilding the city and deciding, well, holy shit, if we basically have to rebuild the entire city, let's make some marked changes. So over the course of like a decade, they raise the street.
Yeah.
They literally about 10 to 35 feet up. If you're imagine any main street, any small town main street, right? So like we've got a diner here in town. It's on the first floor. That's how it would have been in original Seattle.
Right.
When they're rebuilding, now they build new sidewalks above the first floor.
Yeah.
So that diner is now technically underground.
Weird.
So strange, so interesting.
Yeah.
And it took so long that I have sort of like, 35th hand accounts of, for a while, people would use ladders to, some of these businesses that are now technically below the sidewalk are still operating. It almost became a class war kind of thing that like some people couldn't afford to move their shop to the new street level. So they're still operating their businesses now technically underground. So people are using ladders to get up and down, whether or not you need to get to a business that's below ground or come from underground to go up to get to another business.
What year was this? It was like the 1800s?
The very late 1800s, 1889.
Boy.
And so not only that, before they covered, because like, they've got paved streets there now, and the paved streets are covering up the old city, they call it.
Yeah.
But for a while, I take it to be that like, there literally were like raised sidewalks and then a huge pit.
Yeah.
Almost like a river, the old roads. And so you'd also have to use a ladder, tip it across the gap from sidewalk to cross the street. You'd have to walk across a ladder.
Like in Scream 6 or whatever.
Yeah, like in Scream 6, getting from high-rise window to high-rise window, yes.
I wouldn't want to have to constantly use ladders with strangers. Like I have a stranger like walking in front of me and walking behind me.
Yeah,
the
totally.
pace has to be just right.
Yes, absolutely.
You'd bump it into somebody's ass with your head. That would suck.
Oh, you're picturing that you are on all fours?
No, even if you're going vertically.
Oh, you're going I think you wait for the ladder to be free before you start climbing.
In a busy city like Seattle, I'm thinking about like...
Got some guy's cheeks above your head.
I'm thinking about... Think of like...
You're trying to get yourself a nice foamy latte from old-timey Starbucks.
Yes. Think about like the busy stairs of like New York City.
Yeah.
But now translate that to ladders. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be packed.
It's terrible.
So like you can't just wait for the ladder to be free.
I know.
We're all just packing the ladders.
I guess you're right. It sounds like shit.
It's a metropolitan area.
That sounds
horrible.
It sounds absolutely.
You're ass to head with everyone. That sucks.
But also you're head to ass.
Yes.
Ass to head to head to ass. It's like a bunch of human centipedes climbing up and down
That's
around
a
Seattle.
nightmare. I would move.
The late 1890s.
I would move to the Squamish area or whatever it is where the Twin
Snoqualmie
Peaks.
Falls.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's all, and remember, everything's made out of wood at this time. So like you're
it's
like
creaking and cracking.
Go into your wooden shower.
Well, you'd be first. Yes, you're
How
going to my
stinky is
wooden
everyone?
shower. You're creaking and cracking on these ladders. I break a ladder.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
Somebody's head would go up my ass because
Yes.
I would break a ladder
Yes.
falling on somebody's head.
Now you're a hat.
Oh my God.
Live
This
the
would
rest of your life
suck.
as someone's hat.
Yes.
Can you imagine
And I
being
probably
like,
wouldn't like them.
you lie the ladder flat to cross the road.
Oh my God.
And now you have to walk across the handles of the ladder. But by the time that you get to the middle of a ladder, it's going to start bowing. So can you imagine me crossing a wooden ladder? It would bow so much my feet would be on the street below.
This wouldn't do at all.
Horrible. Horrible.
I wouldn't last at all in these times. I know that the life expectancy back in the day, it was like 35.
Yeah.
My life expectancy would be like 23.
Right.
I'm not built for times without technology. And by
No.
technology, I even mean a steel ladder.
Yes. No, I didn't know any of this shit about Seattle. It sounds like a nightmare.
Ugh.
So many people, it's so obvious, but it just sounds so miserable. People kept falling into the pits. Because it's like Venice, where you've got like rivers of beautiful water, except there's no water, and it's just a 35-foot drop to the old city, quote unquote, down below.
What the hell?
And so people would just like be like walking, whoa, and fall into the pit. 17 people.
Why did they fill in the pits?
They eventually did.
How long did it take them?
Years. It's measured in years. And when they did, because
That's so unsafe.
people were still living down there and operating down there, because it's basically as if, like I'm on the first floor of my house and then all of a sudden the city decides like, you know what, we want the roads to be higher. So they just make the roads higher than the first floor of my house so it's all dark inside.
Doesn't sound so bad to me.
Like
but
being, for you.
Yeah.
It's like being sealed inside,
Again, doesn't
you're
sound
being
so bad.
buried.
Yeah.
And so what Seattle did, one of the first things they did was some of the sidewalks that they built were actually like clear panes, like clear glass. Like I think about this, like I've seen this like in the go to like a 90s doctor's office. They have those glass cube things. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, or our niece's house.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's right. Yeah. I forgot
kicks
about that.
ass.
So yeah, it's like the sidewalk was basically made out of these translucent glass blocks, so that light so that you can walk on it.
Okay.
On the new city.
Yeah.
But so that sunlight can still filter down into the old city because people are still living and working down there. And eventually they do cover up the whole thing. They have streets, and now the old city is completely locked off. But yeah, before that, 17 people died by falling into those pits.
Ugh.
And then it's completely sealed off. But you can still the roads are covered up so that you don't need a ladder to cross the street.
Right.
But people are still operating businesses down there, but now they're operating unseen.
Yeah.
So the old underground city now becomes this hotbed of like the black market and gambling, and just like it literally becomes the underground.
Yeah.
Like underground operations. It's
Yeah.
like a scary place to be.
I bet.
Until, and this is weird too. So 4 years after Seattle gets its first mortuary in 1903, all of a sudden there are a bunch of rats down there.
Oh, God.
And those rats are apparently carrying the bubonic plague.
Oh, God.
And so they end up in 1907 condemning the underground.
That sucks.
Completely sealing it off.
Ugh.
And it remained completely inaccessible for decades.
Yeah.
Until about the 50s, when there's this historian who's like, there's another city under our city?
Yeah.
There's like there's storefronts under our feet right now that are
we should
disused.
give a look.
How do we get down there? And now, over the course of time, it's been opened up for tours and stuff.
Yeah.
But what a weird...
That's crazy.
It's completely insane.
I did not know that.
It's akin to, and this is like when you look online, like some of the like, see also the Paris catacombs.
Right.
Like it very much is like, it's so funny that it's a relatively modern thing in this country that is as sort of odd and creepy as places around the globe who have like bizarre underground catacombs and stuff.
Well, it's not quite as odd and creepy
city.
as that, because the Paris catacombs are lined with skeletons.
Well, that's true. You're right about that. But I just mean like it's so odd that there is an artifact of the old world still readily visitable beneath Seattle.
That's wild.
It's kind of awesome.
Yeah, it totally is. All right, so I'm going to tell you about the Moore Theater after we first tell you about patreon.com/GTTUpod, another place where you can go to visit pieces of history, as well as us constantly adding to it, creating more history week by week, because we have a whole second weekly podcast called the Netherworld Dispatch that comes out every single Monday. So you can get double the Guides to the Unknown every week if you so choose when you join us at the Demon tier. The Demon tier gets all, but we have other tiers that you can check out to get the Netherworld Dispatch at different frequencies, based on what you are comfortable with, donation wise, interest wise, whatever. But you can go peruse all of our tiers at patreon.com/GTTUpod. See what jumps out at you.
Yep.
We also have ad-free episodes of Guides to the Unknown for all tiers starting at the $4 one and up. We have a Discord that starts at the $1 tier and up. We have movie commentaries, all kinds of stuff, a newsletter that's for the free tier and up.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are like tons of options over there. So go check it out.
Super fun. The most recent episode of the Netherworld Dispatch is episode 198, which we titled Cozy Gamers. Kick back.
That's right.
Relax. Fire up the Nintendo Switch or a Steam Deck. Kristen actually took us on a tour. I think it's the first time that we had Kristen playing games on the stream.
And I realized I should have brought my iPad so I could show you some things there. I didn't even show you Murder at the Alps.
Oh, I would love to see Murder at the Alps.
Yeah.
That just means we'll have to do it again in the future.
That's right. Or my coloring app, Lake.
Lake? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. You can watch me color something.
Sounds marginally less exciting, if I'm being completely honest with you. So Kristen played a game called Wildflowers. We got to see that Kristen has a husband in the game.
Oh, yeah, Wesley. He's a werewolf.
That's right. And then we even visited my Animal Crossing island, which we discover on stream I have not been to in 4 years.
Right.
I now am playing it pretty regularly.
Yeah.
Listen, the world's a nightmare. Everyone fire up Animal Crossing again.
Yes.
Do you remember 4 years ago when Animal Crossing came out at the exact right time that we all needed a distraction? Mm-hmm. Nothing's happening right now. That's a great distraction. Get back into Animal Crossing. There's not a ton to do in it.
I will say, maybe a substitute for Animal Crossing, it's coming out, I think, this month, is Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
Oh, tight. Right on. All right, sure.
Maybe that
why
can
not?
help. I don't know if we can be social with it and visit each other's islands and stuff, but it's Animal Crossing-esque. It has a lot of tasks and stuff to do, and that might be a fun one, just for our sanity.
Okay. Yeah, everybody find yourself an outlet. Hope you're all doing okay, because holy shit.
Oh, my God.
All right, and we also love reading reviews on the podcast. This one comes to us from AJB5158. I believe this might be a droid of some sort.
Ooh, a droid. Everybody talks about Williams.
One of Kristen's comedy characters.
Everybody talks about Williams impressions, but nobody really talks about mine.
Can we hear it again?
A droid.
It's just saying the word droid.
The droid is ready.
Ooh, now that was a pretty good Babu Frick.
Thank you.
All right, you win. You convinced me. You are great. This review is titled My Favorite Spooky Show. I've been listening for years, and I never get tired of Kristen and Will and their take on all the scary, fun topics they tackle each week. I have no one to talk to about spooky stuff, and this podcast makes me feel like I do. They're incredibly natural and charming, and they seem like good people. Well. And their shared history leads the conversations to interesting and funny places. I wish there was an episode every day.
Aw.
5 stars.
That's nice. Thank you so much. That's really, really sweet. I'm glad that it's a place where you can feel like you've got somebody who's like into the same things that you are. That's great. That's a really nice review. I'm really glad that you feel that way about the show.
And because of this review, I was doing the light math on it. And if you were on the Demon tier on Patreon, you get us twice a week, which is more than 25% of your week.
That is true.
2 days a week.
That is true. And so also, I did even lighter math. On the Demon tier, if you were to listen to everything we put out, you get 9 shows a month, which ain't bad.
That's pretty good.
It's 4 Guides to the Unknown. I mean, if we're looking at a 4-week month, it's 4 Guides to the Unknowns, 4 Netherworld Dispatches, and 1 Dead Time.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Consider leaving a review. We might read it in the future.
Yeah.
We love it when you give us Spotify stars.
Yes.
I've been noticing the number continue to go up above 500. Thank you all
so much.
So much. Greatly, greatly appreciated.
That's like an amazing free way to support the show, by the way.
Absolutely.
Like if Patreon is just not, something that you want to do or are able to do or whatever, that's like reviews are such an appreciated thing for us. That's totally free. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right. Enough of that.
All right, so quick commercial break. Hopefully quick. You know, you can fast forward. Whatever.
Really long commercial break. And we'll be right back.
Yep.
Enjoy.
Okay, Will. So here's the deal with the Moore Theater, also in Seattle. So this is said to be one of the most haunted buildings in the city, and it's an old theater from 1907 with an attached hotel, which is fun.
1907 is when they condemned the Seattle Underground.
Oh, so
it's interesting too. It means nothing, but it's just
right.
now I have these years in my head.
Yeah,
they got a mortuary 4 years earlier, and now they've got a theater.
Yeah, right.
Congratulations, Seattle.
Good on you. So there's supposed to be. Oh, I wrote a fun little thing. I said it's from 1907 with an attached hotel and some attached spirits. Because I was like, why does it say attached twice?
Yeah.
Including the original owner, James Moore. It's also said that actors who have since passed have been seen on stage, like Sarah Bernhardt and even a Barrymore or two.
Which ones? Just a couple.
Yeah, just a few spare Barrymores, old ones.
We've got a few
obviously.
Barrymores and Butterworths.
Yeah,
whatever.
Barrymores, Butterworths, and Bernhardts.
Barrymore is great name for a person who runs a mortuary.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
They should have swapped.
Yes, she should be Drew Butterworth. There should have been the Barrymore mortuary.
And she does have a line of like food at Walmart now.
Drew Barrymore?
Yeah.
She should be Butterworth.
She's got like frozen like tikka masala and stuff.
She could be the new Mrs. Butterworth.
Yeah.
She could play Mrs.
Maybe
Butterworth.
It's time. She could play Mrs.
Is Mrs. Butterworth one of those characters that got like...
I don't think so. I was thinking that.
Mrs. Butterworth around?
I think that Mrs. Butterworth is around.
Let me just do a quick health check on Mrs. Butterworth. No, she's
there. It's rightly Aunt Jemima that was changed.
Aunt Jemima is gone, right. Mrs. Butterworth.
Now Aunt Jemima is like
here.
Something Mills or something.
Really? Mm-hmm. Corporal Mills.
Which is good. Corporal Mills.
Some horrible.
Change it with something that's also like, oh.
Yeah, get your syrup on them pancakes.
That's just kind of a lateral move, but okay. There's also a rumor that I didn't look into. I don't understand it, and I just didn't look into it. There's also a rumor that this is the place that Kurt Cobain actually overdosed and died. I don't understand how that could be, and I didn't feel like getting into it, quite frankly.
Okay.
So I didn't. That doesn't make sense to me, but that doesn't mean that it's not true. Not unlike there being a fitting room. I just don't always get things.
Listen, we're limited by what our research brings us sometimes. Sometimes we don't get clear answers. We get the opportunity to speculate.
Well, and also we're limited sometimes by, I didn't look that up further, and I'm just going to guess.
That is very true.
Oh, well.
Can I just quickly say, as of 2025, Mrs. Butterworth syrup is still being sold with the familiar bottle shape, despite
Va-va-voom.
Well, they have a pop culture section. Mm-hmm. Chicago rapper Lupe Fiasco made reference to the brand on Kanye West's Touch the Sky with the lyric, bottle-shaped body like Mrs. Butterworth.
Oh, yeah.
So Papa Voom is right.
Yes.
This is the aisle where a lot of
She's
people
got those good curves.
Drop their sunglasses. Honey, I think I want...
Who is that?
Baby, I think I want pancakes. Now that's a commercial.
It looks like Mrs. Butterworth's been eating pancakes. She's been eating good. And it looks good on her.
These last two bits seem completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
In 2013, during episode 12 of the 9th season of Whose Line Is It Anyway?, Ryan Stiles uses comedian Naima Funk as a bottle of Mrs. Butterworth's to pour onto Colin Mochry's imagery of waffles during a game of living scenery.
What a weird thing.
Who cares?
To bring to the Mrs. Butterworth Wikipedia page.
This is where it's like...
That's strange.
Listen, Wikipedia is a great resource, and the people who do this just for like out of the kindness of their hearts, like to update it and everything, it's remarkable.
Yeah.
This was not worth typing out.
It's surprising that somebody thought to.
Also in 2017, she made a cameo appearance in Family Guy.
Did you call it a cameo appearance?
Can Mrs. Butterworth have a cameo?
They also put so many things in Family Guy, like rapid fire, or is Wikipedia just kind of like littered with little one-off sentences of that? With just like, there was a cameo of this thing in Family Guy? Dr. Pepper? Wikipedia has that?
In 2019, she appeared with Colonel Sanders in a KFC commercial spoofing a scene from Dirty Dancing, promoting chicken and waffles. So...
I do love chicken and waffles. What year was that?
It was 2019.
So do you think that was Norm Macdonald as Colonel Sanders?
It might have been. It could have been.
I wonder who Mrs. Butterworth was.
Quentin Tarantino recently said that 2019 was the last normal year for movies. Maybe he was referring to this commercial as like a short film.
Maybe. Probably. Okay. The Moore Theater. People have experienced the usual haunting stuff, breathing when no one is there. Wait. Yeah. Okay, the sound of breathing. I was like, what does that mean?
I only breathe when no one is there.
Yeah. All right, I see what you're doing here. I see William's little iPad. He's looking at the commercial for the Mrs. Butterworth and KFC man.
The video's been made private. I don't know. I can't see it. They don't want us to know.
Does it say who played the Colonel? Was this during the period?
It was George Hamilton.
Oh, okay.
As the extra crispy Colonel.
Okay. Who was Mrs. Butterworth?
I think she was just a CGI butter body.
Oh,
or syrup body.
Yeah, there's a still.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Well, now we know.
Enough.
All right. Back to the breathing when no one is there. The usual stuff, temperature drops as well, but there are some wild cards that make it kind of an interesting case. It was built on top of Seattle's oldest cemetery, for one, this year, which would make it ghost
1904.
central. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was just thinking oldest has kind of like lost its meaning when you know that the oldest mortuary is from 1903.
That is crazy.
I'm questioning myself now. That's making me worried that we're going to get messages that are like, it's not true.
Let me be
Did I write something wrong?
Let me be a little producer here.
Okay.
I'll do a little research
Thank you.
on that.
So that's one thing that I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. Another thing is that in the 1970s, what you got, Willie?
It does. I mean, I could probably use more than 2 seconds to look it up.
Oh, okay.
But it does say Butterworth Building.
Okay.
All right.
So also in the 1970s, employees who were intrigued by all the ghostly activity decided to hold a seance. But their employers realized what they were doing in the middle of it and interrupted, putting the kibosh on the seance.
Oh.
So people speculate that this might have caused an increase in activity because these employees who were holding a seance like me in 4th grade in the paper closet stirred up the spirit world, but then didn't properly seal off the ritual because the employers came in there like, hey, what are you doing in here?
You got to protect your seance space.
Uh-huh. Yep, you got to seal the circle or something.
Yes.
So I thought that was kind of fun. So since then, apparently post-seance, from what I understand, pre-seance was like weird breathing noises, all that, temperature drops. Post-seance, apparently people started seeing orbs and little objects started going missing, but then they would reappear somewhere else in the building. So nothing too sinister. Again, with the basically kind of like benign feel-good hauntings.
Yeah.
Ghost Hunters went there for a season 3 episode in 2007, and they were the first paranormal group to investigate the theater. And while their equipment didn't pick up anything that they would call proof, members of the team apparently felt like there was something kind of ghostly going on. So it was kind of like a mixed bag.
Okay.
The Seattle subreddit had a post from a deleted user asking for paranormal experiences in Seattle, and 2 of the comments there mentioned the Moore Theater, and I thought that I would put them here. A user called Rain Wind, spelled not normal rain and not normal wind. I like that. Said, I was up in the Moore Theater as a volunteer before they opened the mezzanine to patrons. It had a definite you're in the servants area energy to me, much darker and more unhappy than the rest of the theater. And then another deleted user posted as a comment, not sure if this has been mentioned, but the Moore is haunted. A friend mentioned taking a field trip there in high school and their doubt about mentioned their doubt about the paranormal. There were kegs in the lobby too heavy to be moved. Suddenly, when they said they didn't believe in ghosts, one of the kegs fell over. The keg wasn't touched by anything and seemed to fall over spontaneously. Definitely spooky, in my opinion.
Startling. Mm-hmm. That would probably make a very
loud sound. That is weird if you're like in a place and you're like, yeah, I don't believe in ghosts or anything, and then like a giant keg falls over. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun timing. Yeah. I just think about how often, because that is very close to Zach Bagans just being like, I'm going to slap you around, you dumb ghosts.
Potentially. Or it could just be a normal person being like, yeah, I know they say this place is haunted, but I actually don't really believe in ghosts.
We still need a normal person ghost show. You and I still need to. I've been talking about this for years. I think maybe 2025 is the year we finally do this. I want to go to a place and just be chill. Don't set up a gajillion cameras and take readings of everything. Just go chat about the history and see what happens. Because you're right. That kind of story, just being like, I don't believe in ghosts. And you're not expecting it. You can't be looking under every single, bed to try to find these things.
Right.
If
Just
they
like
exist.
let it happen.
Just let it happen. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Okay. And then I went to a website called WashingtonHauntedHouses.com, which is awesome. I've seen variations of this website. I don't know if it's actually the same kind of thing where it's like state hauntedhouses.com, but like I've seen the same kind of thing. It's very 90s looking with like an all black background with like a bunch of jack-o'-lanterns, like very loud.
Yeah.
I've seen it by a million different names, and it lists like different haunted locations, very bare bones information about the place, like a couple of sentences, and then it has a space for comments. It's not like hauntedplaces.org exactly, but kind of a cousin of it. And it had this comment about the Moore Theater that I liked, and I'll leave us with. I was at the Moore Theater for a rock concert, and I seen a lady I thought was Amish walking towards me. But the closer she got, I noticed her dress was blue with small flowers, and it looked more Victorian. As she walked right past me towards sectioned off area, I turned my head for 1 second and looked back. She was gone. No way she could have been gone that fast, and why she was walking with a purpose towards sectioned off area. She was solid looking, like I could have grabbed her arm. I asked if anyone seen her because she was so out of place for a Megadeth show. Nobody else seen her, and how did she disappear so fast? I was sober, driver, made me wonder, WTF. WTF indeed.
Good God. When you said the word modest.
Yes.
It took me I was like, wait a minute. Did you say that, or is that in the thing?
Modest and turd.
And then it felt like, have you ever heard those people who they're like, this is what it would sound like if you didn't speak English and you heard English speakers.
Yeah.
And it's just like a bunch of noises.
I haven't, but I can imagine.
Holy shit, Kristen.
English is like a crazy language.
It is, but I just mean like any language.
No, I know. But no, isn't English in particular supposed to be like one of the weirder languages? Because there's so many words that like sound exactly the same but mean different things.
That's what
like
they say.
there. You know what I mean?
I find it to be the easiest.
For me, certainly.
That's a normal.
I know none others. Yeah.
So wait, what
none
happened?
Others. Clearly, it's not the easiest.
I know
for me.
none others.
God damn it. Okay, so some guy went to a Megadeth show.
Tight.
He saw somebody who looked Amish.
Okay.
Then reevaluated, thought they looked Victorian.
Oh, okay.
And said that they walked past them and went to a sectioned off area and with purpose and just disappeared.
Okay.
And said that they looked totally solid. And that's pretty much it, right? As she walked right past me towards sectioned off area, I turned my head for 1 second and looked back. She was gone. No way she could have been gone that fast. Yeah, so she was there and then gone.
All right. I feel like there's not a ton of evidence that this isn't just a person.
Well,
a human being. There's not a ton.
Nobody walks that fast. And why was she dressed weird at the Megadeth show?
But what if she does move pretty fast?
And why was she dressed weird?
I don't know. You're at a Megadeth show. I bet people are dressed all kinds of ways.
Obviously, they could be.
I am intrigued.
Are they usually dressed Amish/Victorian?
I know. That's funny to be like, she looked Amish. No, wait. Victorian.
Yeah.
That's not the kind of like distinction, like carbon dating of an outfit kind of thing I'd expect from somebody who's like, I noticed that I noticed something at the Megadeth show. Like, it's just like Amish. No, wait, Victorian. That outfit, those frills, that bonnet, Victorian. It's just weird that the level of detail from somebody who said
But
modest.
again, they were the sober driver, which means they are a smarty.
Sure. Okay.
Let's give it to them.
All right. I guess we have to.
Yeah.
All right. So the last thing that I have to talk to you about is the UFO story.
Right.
It's really the big UFO story.
Yeah.
It's the original UFO story to some extent. I can't believe we haven't talked about this. So much do I not believe we have not talked about this.
Yeah.
That I made sure I had a couple of new angles to the story just in case. As I checked our back catalog, I'm familiar with this tale.
Right.
And I don't know why I would be. So I'm not a very UFO-y kind of guy.
Well, we talked behind the scenes. I think that you're familiar with it because of the Twin Peaks book, Volume 1.
I think so, but
Yeah.
it just seems remarkable that I would have retained it that well. What do you know, Kristen, about Kenneth Arnold's UFO sighting at Mount Rainier in 1947?
I remember like nothing about it.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Good job.
Great.
Do you remember anything?
No. I
Okay.
remember that it's
All
in
right.
that book.
Okay, fair enough. Good job remembering that, because yes, technically Kenneth Arnold is part of the continuity of Twin Peaks.
Right.
He ends up meeting Dougie Milford,
Yes.
who is like the protagonist of those books, yet is just some sort of like a crackpot old man on the
So
TV
weird.
show. I think next month, everybody, in February, I think we're going to be looking at Twin Peaks finally.
Yeah.
We talked about it last year and just didn't do it, but man, there's no time like the present, I
Yeah.
feel. We're going to do Twin Peaks in February. So watch season 1, everybody.
Yes.
That's a little announcement for you. So we got a book called Spooky Washington from our listener, Maggie.
Yes. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you, Maggie, very much. It's a very charming book. It is. It tells many stories of hauntings and strange tales, a lot of old folklore from Native American legends. One of the stories is about this UFO sighting, the Kenneth Arnold UFO sighting. Interestingly, the book is written, it was like reading a bedtime story version of a UFO sighting.
Yeah.
So I'm going to essentially recite to you right now how the book tells the story.
Okay.
Because I was like, this has got to be the Kenneth Arnold story, right?
Right.
Never do they use the name Kenneth Arnold. Not even once. It literally feels like it feels like you're tucked into bed and someone's telling you a tale.
Yeah.
It's essentially
Sounds
this.
great.
In 1947, a pilot was out on a flight. He was looking for a bit of wreckage. There was a reward if you could find this wreck, $5,000 you would earn. And so this pilot was out in his aircraft, flying back and forth in Seattle along by Mount Rainier. And he's looking for the wreck when all of a sudden something else catches his eye. A reflection of sunlight. At first, he thought that it must be geese flying in formation off in the distance. But then he realized that something was amiss. It's all written like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very like cozy.
Yeah.
They'll end up saying that, and now I'll augment with real history.
Yeah.
Kenneth Arnold is flying in his plane when he spots very shiny stuff. It's basically like as if, you saw any other aircraft in the sky. It's almost like when you're in the car and there's a glint off of a fellow driver as you're driving down the road. And so he, at first, is confused. It seems like it was a very confusing event for more than anything else for him. He says that he saw multiple flying objects all flying together in like a line. He really describes it like a flock of geese.
Okay.
I've heard differing accounts. One of them is that they were in like a largely diagonal formation where there's like a lead ship. Because now cut to the chase. We end up saying these are UFOs.
Right.
So there's like a lead object, a lead ship that's crescent shaped. And then the rest of them are smaller and sort of waving behind the ship.
Okay.
He describes it as looking like the tail of a kite too. The tail of a Chinese kite specifically.
Okay.
I don't know. But so they're basically sort of like waving back and forth behind the lead ship. And that's partly why he thought that it might have been like an animal or something at first, until he realized, why so shiny?
Yeah.
Must be some form of craft. And so he's watching as this this series of things in the air fly between two mountains, and he knows the distance of the mountains from each other. And so he's doing some quick math in his head. I don't know how anyone can do this. He's doing some quick math in his head. He's like, my God, they're going at about 1,700 miles per hour. And then later he'll say it was 1,500. And then later he'll say it was 1,200.
Okay.
Like various reports.
Okay.
But so I think he's like sitting around like thinking about this constantly.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So he ends up telling several people when he like lands his plane to gas up and stuff, and he talks about having seen these things, and then he ends up getting contacted by reporters. What he says to reporters in 1947 is that these things he saw moved kind of like if you were skipping a saucer on the water.
Okay.
Which is a very...
I was about to say, you mean skipping a stone?
Very terrible description.
Yeah.
He says several things, truly.
Maybe back in the day they skipped saucers.
He says pie plate. He says saucer. He says anything but stone. I don't know why the
skipping a pie plate on the water?
Yeah, exactly. Who's skipping a pie plate?
Maybe some people do that. I can't skip a stone, can you?
No.
I saw somebody skipping a stone on Sister Wives this week, and I asked Ryan if he could do that. He said he can't either.
No, I really don't think that I could.
I've tried before. I can't do it.
When's the last time you tried?
I don't know, but I can't imagine that I've spontaneously gotten the ability since.
Head on out to the creek.
Yeah, I guess it is time.
See if you can skip a stone or two.
Yeah.
So he describes their movement as looking like something skipping on the water. And again, for whatever reason, he picks a saucer as the thing you're skipping on the water. Whatever. It doesn't matter that he's weird.
Yeah.
But it is a weird description.
Certainly.
However, this gets reported in headlines thusly, quote, supersonic flying saucers sighted by Idaho pilot.
Okay.
This is the coining of the term flying saucer.
I did remember that, yeah.
It all comes from Kenneth Arnold, who perplexingly described these things as moving like a saucer skipping on the water.
Yeah.
He did not. Now, you think about a flying saucer and you think about the classic UFO that we've all seen, where it's basically like a squat disc, you know? And that's not what he was describing at all.
Yeah.
He was describing only the movement.
Right.
So what I gathered from the Kenneth Arnold story is that these things are waving back and forth behind the lead ship, which is itself shaped like a crescent. He also described it as being shaped almost like a bat. It looks, in like illustrations of it I've seen, it looks almost identical to Batman's plane, the Batwing.
Okay.
Where it's like kind of curved in the front, but has
a lot
these
of people say that. Remember,
pointy tails.
He will say that it's like shaped like half a football or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know why it's so hard to describe these things. It looks like a batarang.
Yeah.
It looks like Batman's batarang.
Why didn't they have the vocabulary for that?
Come on. Batman was invented around this time, I think.
Yeah,
I'm not
maybe.
sure. I don't know. But so that movement, I'm not sure if the wafting back and forth, is that what he meant about skipping stones? Because there's another description, and in the thing itself saying that it was like a saucer skipping on the water.
Yeah.
I think about moving. What does a saucer do on the water? Well, saucers don't do shit on the water.
Yeah.
What does a stone do when you skip it on the water? It hits the water
It's like gliding.
and kind of bounces off of it to go further forward. I think about it close to almost like dolphins coming in and out of the water.
Yeah, it sounds like maybe he's talking about something kind of like skimming vertically.
Yes. I think his description was almost making the case that these things he saw were riding the wind.
Yeah.
Almost like, think about like a kid sticking their hand out the window of a moving car. Air dancing, where you sort of like move your hand up and down.
Does everybody call it that?
Air dancing. I feel like people are probably picturing that pretty decently.
Yeah.
If you're driving in
That's
a car,
what I called it when I was a kid.
you literally might be driving in a car right this second. Put your hand out the window right now.
You let your hand dance.
Right up and down the wind. I sort of pictured it that way, as if these crafts were not just propelled by, a jet or whatever.
Right.
Because he also said that he saw no exhausts of any kind. That like they literally needed to ride the like currents of the air itself.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. But also no one ever really reported adequately to me for my whole life that like he didn't just see, some little Martian sitting in one's thing fly by. There was like a whole flock of these things that he saw.
Right.
Here's the other thing that people didn't report. Because, well, actually, do you want to hear what other people have reported, or do you want to hear something from the man himself?
Up to you.
Let's go. We'll save this.
Okay.
So, Kenneth Arnold would be frustrated, obviously, that for decades, people wanted to talk to him about his flying saucer story. But also nobody believed him.
Right.
So there are all these
That sucks.
reports. Like, he had to go through, like, countless interviews with like the Air Force and stuff, and they always concluded that it was a mirage, that he didn't really see what he saw. And all of this is so in 2025 interesting to me, because probably for most of my life I would have also been like, who cares, who knows. But now that like all of these UFO like conferences have been held and stuff,
Right.
It seems more plausible than ever that he really did see something.
Yeah.
And we confirmed that he probably saw something.
Yep.
And yet it was probably very complicated to explain, to picture, that it was much easier to just be like, I don't even want to worry about what those things can be. This guy's got to be nuts.
Yeah.
Just a catastrophe. So anyway, he gets increasingly frustrated over the years. He ends up writing a book called like The Coming of the Saucers, which is a very bad title if you're trying to not look crazy and downplay things.
True.
But it's all part of this like craze. Like Kenneth Arnold is sort of like the patient zero of the UFO craze. And years after his death, he dies in the 80s, his daughter, Kate Arnold, has described things that she's like, nobody ever reported these other things about him. Because in a nutshell, what I already told you is roughly the Kenneth Arnold story. He saw something happened in 1947. That's it. According to his daughter, no, he would go on to see more UFOs. They had orbs that he spotted in his home.
Yeah.
And not only that, she said that, remember how I described like the crafts that he saw as like really reflecting a lot of light into his eyes? She said that he would spend like years thinking about these things and trying to make sense of them. And he eventually decided that it wasn't that the crafts were reflecting light. It was that they were emitting light.
Okay.
He ended up essentially believing that what he saw were not ships. What he saw were living creatures.
Oh.
Which is
interesting.
Very different
from
what anybody has ever reported.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so it very much was almost like seeing a flock of geese.
Interesting.
He saw basically like a flock of UFOs, but those UFOs might have been alive, living creatures with some sort of bioluminescence to them that lets them glow in the air.
Wow, that's an interesting theory.
Also perplexingly, Kate Arnold has said that he also might have on some level thought that this had something to do with the afterlife.
Okay. So
I don't know. Maybe when we die, we become big flying discs.
Do you know what she said what about it?
Not really. No, It's all incredibly ambiguous.
Yeah.
But it did make me think that in The Shining, the book The Shining from the 70s, this is like a weird thing that no one thinks about. Do you remember that when the hotel explodes at the end of the book, not the movie, they see the shadow of like a manta ray fly off? What's that about?
I know. I don't know.
But it definitely made like
no one's talking about it. But it's so weird.
The silence is deafening.
Yes.
What the hell happens at the end of The Shining?
I know.
I don't understand what that is.
I don't know.
But it very much, when I was reading about Kenneth Arnold perhaps being like, these things I don't believe are crafts, I believe are creatures. Okay. Well, there's other sort of like, granted, it's obviously a fictional book, but like, and the movie Nope, which is also a fictional story. There is somewhat other sources of being like, these things that are flying around might not be ships, they might be things, they might be animals.
Interesting.
So anyway, I'll conclude because I'll tell you this, I feel that the Kenneth Arnold story, it's one of those stories that we have sometimes on the show where I think what I've described to you is the broad strokes of it all.
Yeah, sure.
However, it is also very confusing to me. And there's so much data about it that I felt like I was like drowning in pages and pages of reports and interpretations, podcast episodes where people are just like, it feels like speculating on this and I don't know if I can trust what they're saying at all. The only thing that we truly know is that in 1947 a guy was flying a plane and later reported that he saw things. That's basically it. And the rest of it, as far as I can tell, has largely been speculation. Having said that, I do have something from the man himself. And so it's not common for us to play outside audio on Guide to the Unknown. However, I do think that we're probably pretty safe in this regard.
So we'll give old Kenneth the final word.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a snippet of an interview with Kenneth Arnold It's been shared by the YouTube channel Extraterrestrial TV. We'll have links to everything in our show notes on scaryfun.fun. But this is Kenneth Arnold talking about 30 years after he saw the UFO, how it's been for him.
Excellent.
Here we go.
As the next day, the world first saw the term flying saucer. On June 24, 1977, 30 years to the day after he first sighted them, Ken Arnold consented to speak to us. He had refused to make any public statements for the last 5 years. It's easy to see that after 30 years, he's still angry at the disbelief.
Right here, we've seen something. I've seen something. Hundreds of pilots have seen something.
So you can already hear.
Yeah.
He's frustrated, and I think appropriately so. I only let him talk for a second. He'll say something pretty shocking in a moment.
Okay.
But I've seen something. Hundreds of pilots have seen something. And even decades after this, we're going to find out that that's true and verified.
Yes.
So all of this is recontextualized to me as not people just going for attention or money or whatever, as literally being like, I actually saw something and everyone's telling me I'm crazy and I know I'm not crazy. It would be infuriating.
Yeah.
Infuriating. Now, I want you to listen very closely to his words because I almost feel like we've got a scoop here.
Okay.
No one else has picked up on this.
Okay.
Listen closely.
Okay.
In the skies, we have dutifully reported these things.
Did you hear it? I'll take it back.
Go ahead,
Yes.
please.
He's still angry at the disbelief.
Right here, we've seen something. I've seen something. Hundreds of pilots have seen something in the skies. We have dutifully reported these things.
Did you hear it?
I heard it both times. We have doodle.
They said we have doo-doo.
I think you said doodle.
Oh, we got to listen to it a third time.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm a little worried.
I think it said we have doodle. Doodly reported these things.
We got to be. I heard doo-doo.
Okay.
You heard doodle.
Yep.
Let's let everyone be the judge.
Okay.
He's still angry at the disbelief.
Right here, we've seen something. I've seen something. Hundreds of pilots have seen something in the skies. We have dutifully reported these things.
What was he covering up? Why did he interrupt himself? I heard doo-doo. I still hear doo-doo. I guess we see what we eat. I guess we are what we eat.
I can hear both. I still lean firmly in the doodle camp, but I can hear doo-doo.
Oh, Guide to the Unknown.
What's it? Yanny? What is that whole
Yanny
thing?
and Laurel.
Yeah.
The black and gold dress or whatever. Guide to the Unknown World, we're going to leave it up to you. Are you hashtag Team Doo-Doo?
Or hashtag Team Doodle.
Leave it in the comments. Are there comments on Apple Podcasts and Spotify? Whatever.
There are on Spotify.
Say it to someone.
There are comments on Spotify.
There are comments on Spotify?
I looked once and I didn't like it.
No? Oh, no. I didn't
Like a
know
long
that.
time ago. I will not be looking again.
All right, well, hashtag Team Doo-Doo. I'm planting my flag right now. So that's the Kenneth Arnold story. He's still upset. He almost let it slip, but then he caught himself. He says, we have dutifully reported these things. So what was the doo-doo about then, Kenneth?
That's my question. It doesn't sound like he ever addressed it again, did he?
No, he didn't.
They probably silenced him.
I
That's
bet
my
they
guess.
did. I certainly did. I hit pause.
Yeah. We're all doing it. We're all still doing it to him.
We're still part of the problem. All right, everybody. Enough.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. We really hope you enjoyed. William, thank you for blowing the lid off of Doo-Doo Doodlegate.
Yeah. Listen, he was blowing it up clearly. So,
Go check out patreon.com/GTTUpod if you want more of the show, because there's a ton more of it over there, as we said earlier. You can follow us on social media. We are at GTTUpod everywhere, and we are also individually out there. I am at Chillin' Kristen.
I am at The Myth Traveler.
We're out there, all right.
Oh, we're out there, baby. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. We'll be back next week. Don't know what we're doing just yet, but it's going to be fun.
Why don't we do Twin Peaks?
Next week?
Why not?
All right, we can try that.
Season 1?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, it's short. It's a shorty.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Blaze Twin Peaks. We're doing it next week.
Yeah.
All right. Until that time comes, we must travel.
Back to the netherworld go we.
Just a hop, skip, and a jump from Seattle itself to get
That's
over
true.
to Twin Peaks.
That's true.
If only I'd known it
Why
several
the hell
years
not?
ago. Blew it back then, but we're going to set it right next week.
Yeah.
Go to Twin Peaks.
I guess I didn't either, honestly. I think I was, it didn't even occur to me. I think I was like, oh, it's like not even by here. I also think I was there for one night.
Why is it like a family trait of ours that we blow our trip to Seattle?
I don't know. That's weird.
It's weird that we both did that.
Yeah. I really think that it wasn't even I was just like, oh, it's a foregone conclusion that I couldn't even do anything like that.
I didn't even stay long enough to do the Belgian dip. You know what that is, right?
No.
It's when you're sipping your foamy latte and you come up and you have foam all over your nose.
Yeah.
That's how Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me starts. Dr. Evil.
What does that have to do with Seattle? Or are they in Seattle?
They're in Seattle.
Yeah.
His new evil lair is at the top of the Space Needle, which is also a Starbucks.
That's right.
And then they laugh at him for getting foam on his nose. And he goes, that's how they drink it in Bruges. It's called the Belgian dip.
That's right.
And they just move on. Haven't seen that movie in easily a decade. Remember it clearly as day.
It sticks with you.